Hi there, and thanks for joining us. Welcome to this very special edition of Red Business, where we are celebrating the 21st birthday of this very radio station here at Cork's Red FM. So when we started out on this journey, Roy Keane caused a bit of controversy when he was at the World Cup in Saipan. We all thought six were the future of music, and we all thought, well, how long is left in this old radio lark anyway? Well, 21 years on, Red is still going strong and has evolved throughout all of that time to meet different needs that are out there, not just for the audience, but for the business community in Cork as well. And I'm delighted to be joined by Grainne Murnane of Red FM, who's with me here today, who has been involved from the very start.
I know, Jonathan. I'm actually really lucky to be part of Red's story right from the very beginning.
And you started working as a child.
Straight out of primary school, actually. I think, they poached me when I was still in primary school.
Yeah, still in primary school, but you're still going strong anyway. Look, it is a brilliant story, isn't it? Because when Red started, the media landscape was a little bit flat. There were local radio stations, there was national radio stations, but there was a real gap for a local radio station targeting the youth audience. It was new, it was exciting, and it brought a lot to the market, didn't it?
It was so exciting to be part of a brand new launch of a radio station in Cork.
The people were really exciting as well, though, because we had so many young people coming through the radio station.
So many different characters. Henry Condon would have been the main person that would have set up the radio station at the time. Henry was magical. Oh my God,
he was a life force.
He was really dynamic. Just had a brilliant way of bringing people along with him. I think everybody that worked in Red at the time thought they were a celebrity. Not just the people behind the mic, the people in sales and marketing. So it was a really, really exciting time.
It was about the brand, though, wasn't it? I mean, it was the fact it was such a strong brand, Red being synonymous with Cork, and everybody kind of rode in behind it because it was new. It was exciting.
New, but it did take a long time for us to establish the brand, Jonathan, and for us to become part of the fabric of Cork. That took a very long time, and for it to get Red to the brand that it is today.
It's obviously changed a lot over the years, and you've seen that change. It started out purely as an FM product, so good old-fashioned radio, really, really strong at the time. But then all these other interlopers came in. You had your Facebooks and you had your Googles, and then, you know, people were saying, well, is there a future for radio or not? But of course there is. People are still obsessed with the radio product, but they're using the other products that are there as well now.
Absolutely. When we launched first, digital really didn't feature at all. It was the traditional 30-second spot that we would have sold or that we would have brought to the marketplace. But now it's much broader than that. You have your sponsorship, you have your branded content, you have integrated digital campaigns. So it's a much different product to what we would have sold in the early days of Red.
But it's a bigger radio station as well, isn't it? I mean, that's
Absolutely.
the point. When it started, when Henry brought together that merry little group, yourself and Lan O'Connor, who's still on the newsroom here, that was a small group of people.
It was a small group of people, but we have grown into, such a dominant force in the marketplace in Cork. We went from a couple of years ago, I think we were 7th in the marketplace, to the number 1 radio station, and we've managed to maintain that, over the last number of years.
It's a fantastic story to be on, and anybody looking in from the outside will say they did really well, but it's been tremendous fun over the years. That's the main thing.
It's been so much fun. There's been so much energy in the building, a great place to work, really fun, dynamic people, a lot of different and quirky personalities that we've had in the radio station over the years, from somebody like Charlie Wolfe. Do you remember Charlie?
I remember Charlie, yeah. Stevie
G, who's still with us today.
There's been so many, and of course Neil coming in, Foley when he came in as well. Now we've got Rob and Laura on the breakfast show. Look, many stories you can't tell us, and we have to acknowledge that and respect them. But the bottom line is that we're 21 years in, but there's so many chapters in this story to come, isn't there?
Absolutely. And really, Jonathan, I think for Red FM, content has always been king. We deliver very strong content that we're really proud of. And as long as we continue to do that and remain relevant and fresh to our audience, I think we'll continue to grow, and not just on air, but across all our platforms.
Well, Grainne, as head of sales, you've done a tremendous job over the years. I have to say that. But we have to go and find out what the customers actually think about this now. So we have a panel of our customers comers coming up here in just a minute to give us their reminiscence reminiscences of the last 21 years. But congratulations.
you
You
very
are
much,
one of
Jonathan.
the staff who's getting the key to the door.
Oh, thank you very
now,
much.
it's not the key to the front door here because that'd be too risky. But you'll get a key to somewhere. Grainne
Cheers,
Murnane,
Jonathan.
thank you so much
Thank
for coming
you so
in.
much.
So that's a little bit about how Red FM came about, but what impact did it have on businesses in Cork? Well, with me in studio now, we have got 3 businesses that have really supported the radio station from the get-go, but not only that, but they've seen their businesses grow and change over time. I am delighted to be joined by Mark Hopkins, Bill Cremin and Shanti McNulty. You're all very welcome. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thanks, John.
Thanks, John.
Mark, I'm going to begin by asking you, tell us a little bit about Hopkins Communications and how you guys first engaged with Red.
Yeah, so Hopkins Communications was founded by my mother Mary in 1990. So we're over 30 years in business right now, and we would have initially started off as a PR and kind of outdoor advertising agency, but I think I came in then in around similar enough timeline to when Red FM started, and at the time there weren't very many media buying agencies in the Cork or the Munster region, so we saw a gap in that market, and we took it on, embraced it, and then the evolution of digital came to fruition, and then obviously creating content came into play. So as it stands right now, we have a strong team of about 25, and which is full service right across from, as we call it, conception to execution, which would be, creating content all the way to buying media, to doing PR, event management, and then obviously the new age of digital, and with it's reporting structures and all of that. So it's full service integrated communications is where we are now, and that's where we were. I suppose to answer the question on how we first interacted with Red, it was actually similar enough timeline to my induction into Hopkins Communications.
You're 21 years younger then.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you were cool and trendy
I was
at that
cool
point.
and trendy.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I was, and but it was interesting actually, the new radio station coming into the market. My mum actually would have worked with Henry Condon back in South Coast Radio days, and mum found Henry a very gregarious and happy-go-lucky fella. They had a very good relationship, and then as soon as I came in, obviously with the media buying side of things and the investment in advertising and promotions and that, and being Cork being our strongest market, we soon formed a very strong relationship with Red, and that's remained to this day.
Absolutely, still going
Yeah,
strong.
yeah.
Shanti, for you, was your first involvement, you were at Greenhouse Agency now, but was your first involvement with Mahon Point?
It was. I actually moved back from London in 2005, and Red FM had already been established at that stage, but Mahon Point was just launching. So Red FM were, I suppose, one of the big parts of our media mix back then. And in the first few years working with Grainne, I actually set up the Red FM pod down in Mahon Point with her, which was, at the time we had nothing like that in the centre, and it was great that Grainne kind of took the leap to do that. But we formed a strong relationship over the years, and they were involved with so many different events then over the years, from fashion to the Cork on Ice in Mahon Point to loads of other things. And I just felt they always had that kind of, young at heart, kind of quite on trend, but was perfect for the target audience in Mahon Point. But more recently, when I've been working with Greenhouse, I work with Red through Casey's Furniture. So because they're based in Cork and their stronghold is in Cork, Red FM is perfect partner for them with whether it's sponsorships or advertising, and they've been very supportive ever since.
Did you ever go into the pod? It's a weird experience in there because people just stare at you. I don't know how Izzy has gotten through so many Saturdays
I know,
when she's
and it's
in
very
there.
hot as well.
It does,
It's
it does
very
get a
hot.
little warm. There's a little fan to keep you cool, but
yeah.
it's brilliant to be able to bring radio out like that. Because the other thing that Red FM did when I was working with Newstalk was they had the Upper Lane studio, and it just brings radio to the people more than anything else. And kids are fascinated by it, and it adds value.
I know they were always knocking on the windows, looking for requests and stuff like that. But it was great for the centre, but it was also good for Red FM because obviously where the station is located, it's kind of hidden away from general view, and it brought the branding of
There's
the
nothing
station.
wrong with Bishopstown. Don't be knocking Bishopstown.
I'm from Bishopstown.
Bill Cremin, if we can come to you next. I mean, Bill, I love the story of your business because it has expanded so much over the years. You have been constantly responding and evolving. And a lot of the target market that you were going for was the Red FM market, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We, I suppose, look, we have Cork and Ice, Alpine Skate Trail, Zip It. My first interaction with Red was quite interesting because back in 2007, Red was probably the upstart station still at that stage. And what I found was when I rang Grainne Murnane and said, Grainne, I have an idea, and I didn't know Grainne from Adam, what I got immediately was a welcome, come on out and let's chat. And I went out with little more than an idea in probably September, October 2007. And the guys came on board with us on the first Cork and Ice which was going to be held down in Little Island. And we've moved on since then. I mean, I don't even know how many visitors we had that year, but media partnerships were just so important for us. But what was as important was to have a brand that was synonymous with young people and kind of on trend that we could display down in the event, because it was that kind of trying to be cool by association, and Red was very cool, and I suppose still is, Jonathan. I mean,
well, no, to be fair, they brought me in a bit, so that's after dragging it down ever so slightly. But there is that element, having the Red Patrollers down there, having the outside broadcast, people just kind of connect with it, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose we always found, or I've always found Red very open to ideas, So we'd toss things back and forth, and it didn't have to fit into a particular box in order to get a hearing out here in Curraheen, so we could run anything by them, and we always got a reception. No, it didn't always come to, and that I suppose that process of creative engagement we always got here.
Yeah. Going back to you, Mark, the evolution of the sector. I mean, you've lived through all of it, right? So digital is all new, relatively new, but customers need more. Yeah. Red FM evolved, like the FM part is still very important, but it's not just FM anymore. There's a whole different area to it now that you can help sell your customers.
Well, I suppose, looking at the local radio market as a whole, and even the Irish radio market as a whole, it's quite different in terms of comparing it to other international markets like the UK, for example, whereby the local radio market isn't anywhere near as fragmented as the UK market, right? So you've got nearly in every county, you've probably got one or two local radio stations, and then you supplement that with your 4 or 5 nationals. But what you'll find then is, because on a couple of different levels, so you have the Irish people's parochial need for local content and local news. We all want to know what.
And that's a really Cork thing as well, let's face it.
Never more so than the People's Republic, right? But what you find then is that you have very strong listenership levels, even on the analog side, where like 67% of people still listen to radio on a radio at the moment. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it's nowhere near where it was in 2017-18 before the advent of smart speakers and devices and all that. This shift to digital radio has come on stream, but there's still 3.2 million people a day listen to radio, live radio, in this country, and I think the reason it's still very strong is because of the strength of the content, and from a local radio perspective, the strength of the localised content, and then what that gives you then is, if you're looking at radio stations, that local radio stations will have anywhere from 25% to up to 37% of the market share. So from an advertiser perspective, it's still a very viable means for them to get their message out there, because they know that they've got I won't say a guaranteed listening or a guaranteed audience, but they know that there is only a certain number of media outlets locally that they can get their message to their customers. And then invariably, when you've, as Bill alluded to, when you've got a radio station that is very open to ideas and how you create bespoke and engaging campaigns with your clients, that enables the client then to think outside the box a little bit, come up with sponsorships or events or straight out advertising campaigns that will deliver either sales results or increase market or brand awareness to the client. So I think, as a summation, I think it's very much still part of the media mix, local radio. And I think what we found ever before COVID was there was still, even though digital had gone, people had evolved to digital as a whole, it's come back to traditional media still delivering results now.
Shanti, I worked in radio for 26 years, a little bit longer than Red FM's been in existence. So I've been knocking around a while. I'm still fascinated. People listening when I'm talking, that there's people on the other side. But when you speak to people on the commercial side, and they run a successful campaign, and obviously some campaigns are more engaging than others. But when a successful campaign runs on radio, you do actually see the benefits. You do see people coming through the door, and you find out that they're there because they heard it on the likes of Red FM.
Yeah, and I think during COVID it became even more pronounced because for Casey's Furniture, for example, the retail market was very, very difficult out there. There was closures, there was partial openings, there was all sorts of uncertainty. And Casey's were able to get their message out there quickly through the likes of Red FM, so that, you know, all the time the end customer was updated as to what the situation was, how they could shop with us. And like Casey's did very well during the COVID times.
I know, I spent a lot of money there myself. The advertising was too effective for my house, I can tell you.
I suppose, look, you know, you've got that. Everyone was at home listening to, you know, working from home or the horrid homeschooling, and, you know, both kids and family, everyone could listen to the radio, and it kind of united everybody. So it was a great way to get the message out there, and it was very obvious then from the results, the sales results, whether they were online or whether they were like click and collect. Absolutely. Or whatever it was.
On that point, and sorry to cut across you, Shanti, I think the return to verifiable news and content sources over the last number of years has been really stark, and local verifiable news content. Shanti is absolutely right. I mean, we all remember the COVID days when the Taoiseach was delivering those, you know, what's next in the next few weeks messages, but that was amplified across radio and all the other broadcast mediums. So, but I think that has then helped to make local radio and national radio and broadcast media even stronger as an advertising medium. Local radio is in a very strong place, and I think Red FM have a very strong part to play in that. And look, as an agency, we look forward to working strongly with Grainne and our team here at Red FM long into the future.
And Bill, on that, with you know, you've got your various different products that are out there, the Alpine Skate Trail, for example, the Red FM involvement of that. I'm sure there's lots of people who'd come along and said, just throw a load of money into Instagram, Bill. Sure, they'd be out the door coming down to you. Don't bother with any of that traditional stuff. Why didn't you take that advice?
Well, that's a really interesting point. I mean, I suppose we're buying campaigns and creating advertising and marketing campaigns every year, and I've seen a significant shift since we started in 2007, obviously towards digital. So I suppose we would have looked at it back in the day that we might have had maybe a 10% for digital, and gradually over the years that's crept up at the expense, one would imagine, of print particularly, and possibly of radio. Okay, but what we have found is we've maintained our radio budget because we feel that brand awareness is absolutely important, and echoing what Mark and Shanti have said, getting news out there about your event. And I mean, I suppose the big thing that we've always considered is that, you know, kids going to school in the car in the morning, you want to reach people there in the car, the whole family together. It's Red FM that's going to deliver that audience for you. So while digital has played a part, I back in the day, Jonathan, I used to go with like posters and deliver those posters all around the country and hang them up in the back doors of pubs and everything.
Buying the records back in the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I haven't
a lot of money now. Because shift back to those too.
Yeah. And I suppose, Mark, I mean, we were talking about it outside in terms of 48 sheets and you know, these traditional media, I suppose, have struggled, but I wouldn't dismiss those making a bit of a comeback. You know, it's amazing. We're always at some part of the cycle, you know. And I think right now, for us, it's digital and it's radio. And radio always delivers. And you can't ignore awareness. And radio delivers that, I suppose, in spades.
Thank you so much for all of your support over the years. It's been brilliant to have you on board. This is a video podcast, so there is no escaping the fact that I didn't bring a cake, despite the fact we are celebrating the 21st anniversary of Red FM. But the good news is Neil Prendeville is the guy who is receiving the 21 kisses. So if you can give him just a little peck in the cheek on the way out as you're leaving, that'd be just brilliant. Mark Hopkins, Shanti McNulty, Bill Cremin, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks, Jonathan.
That is it for this particular episode of Red Business. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. Happy birthday to Cork's Red FM. 21 years young, key of the door handed over, and we'll catch you on the next one.